Can you just explain to us why this was such a big deal and why we had to go to settle trades in just one day?
Well, this is something. First of all, thank you for having me, and on this topic in particular. This is something that the industry started looking at the fourth quarter of 2020, and actually, you could go back as far as when we changed the settlement cycle from 3 days to 2 in 2017. People were thinking that was just a way station to get to T+1. And so I think the desire is to mitigate as much risk as we can from the system, eliminate the need to hold excess capital at DTCC, but still be able to preserve the various aspects of the securities market, things like securities lending, prime brokerage, that are important facets of the marketplace. Right. The only other thing I do want to add, you pointed out, it's been 100 years to get back to T+1. I was looking at something today. 100 years ago, I think the average daily volume in equities in the U.S. was something like 4 million. Today, it's 11 billion. So a lot has changed in the U.S. capital markets over the last 100 years.
Yeah, and I think 100 years ago, we were driving it around by courier, right? In some capacity, biking it, walking it. So that was also a big difference. Do we know if it went well?
Well, we're really in the process. I mean, the industry spent the weekend, and this is a partnership between Sifma, the Investment Company Institute, and DTCC, working with the broad industry counterparts, our buy-side, sell-side members, along with the various utilities and service providers. And so it's an all-hands-on-deck effort that we've been working on for almost 4 years. But in the last, several months, an ongoing weekly effort that culminated beginning at the end of last week with setting up an industry command post that's been running through the weekends, running right now. It's also been in coordination with our partners in Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Jamaica, and Peru, all of whom went to T+1 yesterday. And so they will be having their double settlement today. In the U.S., which obviously is a much larger market by a long shot, tomorrow will be the double settlement today. So securities that change or trade today will settle tomorrow versus whereas securities that traded on Friday will also settle tomorrow. So that's when the rubber hits the road. But a tremendous amount of work has been put into this, and we feel very optimistic about where we are.
Certainly so. Are you concerned at all, particularly with the double settlement tomorrow, and then, of course, with the MSCI rebalancing? Is there any concern here about any sort of hiccups?
I think what members are reporting to us, what the various service providers are reporting, DTCC, is that all systems are go. Everyone's ready. We've had the experience of seeing what's happened in these other markets, in particular Canada, which is the largest of the other markets. They seem to be handling it well right now. So again, I think we're optimistic. I think we've taken every precaution that we can. We've tried to inform the broad aspect of the industry. We're looking at the cross-border implications where they're not shifting to one, and I think we're prepared for that.
Well, let's talk about the cross-border thing, because that's a big issue. A lot of foreign investors have basically made it clear that there is still, even once you sort of get everybody on the T1 page, you're still going to have issues with regards to currency transfers and the idea that that's not going to be completely in sync with the time that it takes to settle. What is the solution, if there is one at all, to make sure that that still is seamless?
Well, I think people have pre-positioned for it at this point. And obviously, remember, when the U.S. shifted from 3 to 2, we were behind much of the rest of the world, which had already gone to 2. And we expect that most of the world will follow to 1. The U.K. has already said that they're going to do it by the end of 2027. We expect the EU to follow suit on that as well. And obviously in the FX world, that sector has been making provisions for this, and I think we'll probably see more activity among service providers there as well.
Ken, I have to ask you too, and I know you guys have been preparing for this for years, and we've talked with so many banks, and they've made it clear they've all got these contingency plans in place. But some of those same banks are also saying they are concerned about the risk, at least in this transition, of failed trades, not just today, but really over the next couple of weeks here. If we do end up in a situation where we see major failed trades here, is that going to have a ripple effect, or is that going to be something that's, I guess, a little bit more contained, isolated to just that particular transaction?
Well, we've had periods of volatility where we've seen a spike in fails, and we saw that in March of 2020 with the onset of COVID and the reaction in the U.S. We saw that during the meme stock incident in 2021. Industry's been able to come together. Sifma's been very much involved in this of working to allow firms to work to settle out failed transactions. Is there a chance that we'll see a spike in fails with this transition period? Sure. But again, we think that the provisions have been made to address that if that occurs, but that over the long run, we think that the market is ready for the T1, that the work has been done to get us where we need to be.
If we do see some failed trades, do you think it will be because of, say, the FX issue, because you have to convert into dollars? Will it be securities lending? They have to get those shares back, or allocation confirmation process, because some of the trades are just smaller than the bigger ones we used to see? Where do you think the biggest crack will be?
It's a good question. It's hard to say. I think it's probably going to be more one-off situations where perhaps firms are not as ready as they might be, or there could be something that no one thought of. But right now, we're not seeing any of that, and I think I think it probably will be more and I hope it'll be more of an anomaly than anything that is systematic.